Below is a full original professional voiceover script. 1,600 words, written exactly Theo. U-Co, 3, act, cinematic structure, natural, American storytelling. Tone, emotional pacing. Flowing sentences with commas and dashes. Strong, hook, strong. Payoff, strong. Call to action. No repeated elements from source, all names and details changed and written as if the narrator is living their own story. No unnecessary line breaks, no EM dashes, no ellipses, except all replaced with simple hyphens and 3 dots. Voice over script, 1,700 words. Charu. The day a security guard tried to ruin my life and accidentally exposed an entire system. I never imagined my 16th birthday would start with a tray of chicken tenders and end with a pair of metal cuffs digging into my wrists, but life has a funny way of switching lanes without using a turn signal. And trust me, that day hit me like a truck. You know what I mean? One moment, I was sitting alone in the food court at Brookline Plaza, reading through my college prep notes like the nerd I happily am waiting for my dad to get off work so we could grab lunch like we always do on my birthday. And the next moment, I was staring up at a man who thought a badge made him God. His name was Officer Brent Collier, mall security's so-called top performer. Big guy, big boots, bigger ego. And from the second he locked eyes on me, I could feel trouble rolling in like a storm. He stopped in front of my table, blocking the skylight, and said, "Stand up, kid. Time to check what you're really doing here." Just like that. No, hello, no explanation. I froze, clutching my highlighter trying to finish a sentence in my workbook because my brain still believed this was a normal moment. "Sir, I'm just waiting for my dad," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's my birthday." "I'm early." Collier chuckled under his breath, leaned in close, and said, "Sure you are. I've seen your type casing stores before." And when he said your type, he didn't have to explain what he meant. His eyes did all the talking. My stomach dropped. My hands shook. But I stood up like he asked because what else was I supposed to do? I was 16 alone and scared that if I said the wrong thing, he'd take it as an invitation to go further. He asked for my ID, snatched it out of my hand before I finished extending my arm, and nodded like he'd just solved a mystery. "Long way from your side of town, huh?" he said. I told him no, I lived 10 minutes away. My dad met me here every year on my birthday. I'd done absolutely nothing. But the man wasn't listening. He never intended to listen. Collier stepped closer, palm open, demanding my car keys next. "Why?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Because I said so," he answered. People at the tables nearby stopped chewing, stopped talking, stopped pretending they weren't watching. The whole food court shifted into this weird silence where everyone wanted a show, but no one wanted to help the scared kid at the center of it. I handed over the keys, and that was the moment something inside me broke a little because I could feel myself shrinking to fit whatever box he wanted to shove me into. Collier inspected the keys like they were stolen diamonds, then smiled in a way that made my skin crawl. "Nice car for a kid like you," he said. There it was again. Kid like you. Before I could respond, he said the words that changed everything. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." I would give anything to tell you I was brave in that moment, but I wasn't. My eyes burned. My breath hitched and my textbook slid off the table as I slowly turned around. When the cuffs clicked shut, the sound echoed in my bones. People gasped. Phones came out. Someone whispered. Finally, they caught him. I hadn't done a thing. Not one thing. Act 2 is where everything flipped, but not cleanly, not instantly. More like a match dropped into dry grass. My dad arrived just in time to see Officer Collier radio for backup. My dad works at the courthouse downtown. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic. Just a quiet guy who handles legal filings in a room full of boxes and paperwork. But when he saw those cuffs on my wrists, he became a different person. "Take your hands off my son," he said. Calm, but sharp enough to cut steel. Collier didn't move. "Step back, sir. I'm conducting an arrest," he said, puffing himself up like a rooster in a cage fight. And my dad, without raising his voice, held up his badge. Not a police badge, not a gun badge. A federal investigator badge from the Office of Civil Affairs. Not flashy, but real authority. Release him now, Dad said. People started whispering. The crowd grew. The phones got higher, and Collier doubled down. I observed suspicious behavior, he announced like he was on a stage. Possible theft attempt. He was reading a book my dad fired back. That's the suspicious activity. Collier's face reddened, but instead of backing off, he called for backup again, louder this time, shouting into his radio like he wanted the whole mall to hear. He didn't know he'd just set his own career on fire. Within minutes, 3 mall security officers formed a half circle, trying to make the situation look controlled, professional, whatever word they use on their little brochures. But at that point, the food court was an arena. People were filming from escalators' balconies, even behind potted plants like undercover TikTok reporters. And then someone yelled, "Let the kid go." Another person shouted, "He didn't do anything." The pressure grew, and Collier cracked. When he shoved me forward, my dad stepped between us so fast I barely saw the movement. "Touch him again, and I'll have federal civil rights investigators crawling through your files by sunrise," my dad said. Collier scoffed, but I saw fear slide across his eyes like a shadow. And that's when a supervisor showed up, a middle-aged man named Sergeant Malloy. He took one look at me, the cuffs, the cameras, my dad's badge, and his whole face fell. He whispered something to Collier. Collier refused. Malloy repeated it louder this time. "Take off the cuffs." Collier tried arguing, but Malloy shut him down right there in front of everyone. And the moment those cuffs opened, something clicked inside me. Anger, relief, shame, all tangled up like headphones left in a backpack for too long. I rubbed my wrists, feeling the indentations mark my skin, and I knew my life had shifted in a way I couldn't undo. If Act 1 was humiliation and Act 2 was ignition, then Act 3 was wildfire. The video hit social media before we even left the mall. By the time we got to the car, it had 30,000 views. By that night, it passed 300,000. Headlines popped up: teen wrongfully detained at Brookline Plaza, security guard. Confronted by federal investigator, another case of profiling reporters camped outside the mall. My school held assemblies. My inbox flooded with strangers telling me they'd been through the same thing. But the spark became an explosion when journalists uncovered yet another truth. Officer Collier had 39 previous detentions just like mine, all targeting teenagers who looked like me. None led to charges. All increased his performance bonuses. The mall had a contract offering incentives for proactive security actions based on detention numbers. They were paying him to find trouble, and when there wasn't any, he created it. You can imagine how that looked when the story broke. Corporate PR panicked. Mall management released a statement full of empty words. Collier got suspended, then fired, then investigated. Turns out he'd overstepped so many times that the security company cut ties, instantly acting shocked as if they hadn't been cashing the same checks. People love the justice part of stories, the victory lap at the end, but it didn't feel victorious at first. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't step back inside that mall without shaking. Couldn't sit in a food court without scanning every corner. My brain replayed the cuffs clicking every night. That sound stayed with me like a scar you hear instead of see. Therapy helped slowly. My dad being there helped more, and then something unexpected happened. The more the story spread, the more kids came forward with their own bruises, their own stories of being followed, questioned, humiliated. We formed a small group first, then a bigger one, then an even bigger one. Local organizers reached out, lawyers volunteered. The community that once only watched from the sidelines began to roar. And the mall security system that treated kids like statistics got dragged into the sunlight. A federal review was launched. New policies banned incentives tied to detentions. Training requirements changed. And Collier ended up testifying in an internal investigation that exposed an entire pattern of targeting that had been ignored for years. Months later, I walked back into Brookline Plaza for the first time, not because I wanted to, but because I refused to let fear choose my routes. I sat in the same food court in the same seat, opened the same type of college prep book. This time, nobody bothered me. Nobody watched me like a threat. Nobody hovered with a radio. And, for the first time since that day, I felt like I took something back. People ask me all this time, "Do you forgive him?" And honestly, I don't know. Maybe someday, maybe not. But what I do know is that he didn't get the ending he wanted. He wanted to teach me a lesson, put me in my place, make an example out of me. Instead, he became the example. Wrong one, yes, but an example people needed to see. And if you ask me what stuck with me most, it's this: sometimes the people who try to break you end up building the platform you stand on. I didn't ask for that moment, but I'm not wasting it either. So let me throw this to you because I really want to hear what you think. Was Collier just a bad apple, or was he a symptom of a bigger system? Have you ever seen something like this happen to someone who didn't deserve it? And the real question: what would you have done if that kid in cuffs had been your own child? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm ready to read every one of them. And if you want more real stories that ask the hard questions, make sure you subscribe. We're not done talking about justice yet.